Hello, everyone. This is Chirasmrita welcoming you to another impactful and insightful episode of Career Talk by Advancing Northeast, the one-stop solution portal for focusing and emphasizing career and livelihood of the youth of the Northeastern region. Advancing Northeast is an impactful initiative formulated by the Northeastern Council, Ministry of Dona. So once a famous philosopher had said, the knowledge of different languages can open doorways to wisdom. So what if, with that wisdom, you can grab yourself an opportunity to work abroad? Sounds interesting, right? But how to acquire that knowledge? Where to acquire that knowledge? How to make the best use of it? To answer all these questions and to elaborate more on today's topic, the scope of learning Japanese language, we have a very special guest today. He is the brainchild behind the Japan Center of Excellence, the Gateway to Japan, which is currently focusing on learning Japanese language and skill development. Japan Center of Excellence prepares the youth for the Japanese way of work, language, lifestyle, and culture to prepare them for the future opportunities with Japan-related industries. So fasten your seatbelts as we are about to take off to the land of the rising sun together with Mr. Rajeev Gupta. Sir, welcome to Advancing Northeast. We are highly honored and delighted to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for having me over.
So, sir, before starting with our series of questions, I'm sure that our aspirants and our viewers would like to know about a little bit about you, and a little bit about you also about the Japan Center of Excellence. So, sir, could you please tell us about yourself a bit?
Okay. For the benefit of the viewers, I was born and brought up and grew up in the pristine hill station of Shillong. I'm passed out from the famous prestigious St. Edmund's School in 1973 and went on to do my engineering at BITS Pilani, a much sought after institution even today.
Oh.
I'm born to migrant parents who migrated from Pakistan into India in 1947, and thereafter circumstances brought them to this part of the country. Thereafter, of course, after my engineering and a few management degrees or courses, joined the family business and the entrepreneurial journey began. Focusing here on Japan, I definitely today believe that my life intertwines itself with what I call the Japan karma. Japan came into my life first in 1993-94, when I set up one of India's first floriculture units growing fresh roses for exports. Japan being a largest consumer of fresh flowers, although produces only 5 to 6% of its requirement. We were exporting to Japan. It taught me a lot. It taught me what real quality is, Japanese way of doing business, the sense of commitment. If you had to send a rose for a marriage which was going to take place after 14 days, it had to bloom on that marriage. So when it had to be plucked, how it had to be done. There were heavy penalties involved for anything wrong. So it was a very, very great learning how to deal with Japan. We lost that business due to Japan's crashing. If you all know the Japan bubble, which happened. And, one of the biggest bubbles that happened after World War II to Japan. And we also had to lose the business because we were dealing with a live product as a fresh flower. So having, lost that, and one thought that, okay, Japan is over, now let's look at other pastures. Here comes Japan back in 2003, where somebody requests me that if we can source $1 item. A dollar was 42. I used to be a smoker. My pack of cigarettes was 47. So I always wondered what could be exported. But yes, it's been a great journey, actually catering to very large retailers of Japan and also small mom and pop shops, starting around 2004, and which carried on very well till about 2015-16, before Vietnam and China took over. So at one time during that period, 2009 to 2012, probably I was traveling to Japan about once a month. We were shipping about 4 40-foot containers a month. So it was a large volume, low price, low margin business, but it I say I would have never gone to the fireworks town of Shivakasi ever if I didn't have to compete with the global world in terms of finding packing materials. So Shivakasi, for the benefit of viewers, although it produces fireworks because of its low humidity and a dry climate, it also is the printing capital of the country and of the world. In fact, actually, its printing cost is the lowest. So we used to buy a lot of things. So that's been my Japan journey. 2016-17, we realized that Vietnam and China have become very strong. And we need to again take a turn into what we do. Japan was aging. And Japan suddenly, a lot of people told me that, can you do manpower from India? I have no idea about manpower. All I knew was that, yes, I think our youth of the Northeast are the best suited for Japan if we look as compared to any other part of Indian mainland. And that's what drove me to start Japan Center of Excellence under a brand called Youth for Japan, where idea would be to skill and empower the youth so that they would take a lot of opportunities which Japan today has to offer. So this, in brief, has been journey. We started in 2019, lost 2 years of COVID. But we are now on a fast track and hope to empower a large band of kids in this region.
So you have already, elaborated on Japan, but still, I would like to ask this very cliche yet the most important question: that why Japan? Why not any other booming economy? Why Japan?
So if you look at the opportunities that what does a youth want? At a certain stage, a youth wants the quality of education. Okay, let's look at step by step. We are not getting into schooling. We presume that whom we are talking to are out of high school. When they look at undergraduation and high quality undergraduation, obviously we have the IITs and from the engineering, law, medical, etc. But in India, the competition level is very big. When you look at Japan and you compare it, it's a first world country, very, very safe. The two top, towns of the cities of Japan are rated first and number 5 or number 3, I don't remember, but in the safety index of the world. Very safe, high quality of life, first world country. They've made everything for their people. And the quality of education or the cost of education of that quality is 1/3 the price that exists in any first world country. Okay, and the number of scholarships available to the youth are phenomenal. Okay, so there is a huge opportunity for education. Crossing over the burden of education, everybody looks at career. If you look at career in terms of research, it has one of the best research labs available. Okay, if you go into sciences, if you go into fine arts, you go into liberal arts, everything, Japan offers all that. Shifting away from education, if you look at careers, phenomenal. Japan, as you all know, is an aging society, and the birth rate is very low. The death rate is very low. So therefore, the number of people above the age of 65 are 65%, whereas we have a great demographic dividend in this country with a median age of below 30. So here is an opportunity where an aging society requires people in all domains, white-collared, skill-collared, blue-collared, etc. And therefore, I think, and of course, our youth from the Northeast are suited to Japan. So therefore, I think Japan is something that I would like.
So it's like a win-win situation.
It's a win-win.
Both the nations.
Absolutely. It's just that India is far for the Japanese when it compares with Vietnam, Philippines, and Indonesia. Lifestyles are slightly different. They have read or they feel that most Indians are vegetarians, etc. So therefore, it doesn't fit in. But that's not the case when it comes to the Northeast.
So, sir, when it comes to, when we talk about different industries, so what are the different sectors or industries in which youth from our region can absorb themselves, or get employed?
So if we look at the employment scenario, let's divide it into 2 segments. The one segment being a white collar and the second segment being blue collar. When we say blue collar, I would like to mention here that, blue collar in India is not very well respected because we suffer from a dignity of labor syndrome. So we have to develop a dignity of labor, and then we would look at Japan's blue-collar market as something also ideally suited to us Indians. Now, if you look at from the white-collar segment, one, of course, they have a huge demand because the whole world is going digital, so they also have a huge demand in IT. When I say IT, I don't mean you need a computer science engineer, but everything that is done IT. As we sit in this studio, somebody came and installed these cameras, somebody put a microphone, somebody's put the Wi-Fi. That's all in Japan considered IT. Okay, so you would be an IT specialist in a company where you'd be responsible to do all these setups. But yes, you have to work with your hands. It's not about having bookish knowledge and sitting on it.
Not theoretical.
It's
You have to do the practical.
yeah, you have to be able to work on with hands. If you are in a large company and they tell you, okay, we need to set up Wi-Fi in these 4 rooms, well, you have to dirty your hands, stand on a ladder, put the cables, you have to put the whatever cameras or the networking equipment, etc., etc. So IT in a broad sense, networking, software programming, etc., is great. App development, all these things, huge demand.
There's a lot in
That is a lot there. International business development, agriculture. There are farms due to aging society where the farm owners don't have a next generation to take care of their large farms. They want managers. They want people who will handle their farms. That's in agriculture. Corporations who are expanding in the external world. English and Japanese are needed, and they won't find somebody with both the skills. Of course, we have English skills here in the Northeast to a very high extent. We have to own our bilingual skills, and there we are. As you get posted in Japanese companies worldwide, or you would be in the head office and traveling. I know many Indians who went to Japanese language schools, graduated, and are now working with Japanese corporations and are traveling the world because they have to go and sell. So they are marketing people. So that's in the white collar segment. Multiple means that we can carry on and speak of every industry requires thing. In the blue collar segment, Japan has a very structured program. When we say again blue collar, we think of it as labor, but yes, it is considered as labor, but it has a very structured program between government of Japan and government of India, and therefore a very legal foundation and a legal framework has been laid down. Okay, so the areas, there are about 14 to 26 areas where domains where people can go for, but there are certain areas that we are at the moment focusing from India. Some require an examination to be done which is conducted by the Japanese government, and some not. So let's look at elder care being 1, agriculture being 2nd, food service being 3rd, hospitality and hotels being 4th. What else? Yeah, I think business development being another, shipbuilding, etc. is coming. Construction workers, huge demand, whether for making roads, buildings, parks, etc. So it's so in tourism. No, tourism is not considered is included in this sort of a blue collar working, but tourist guides are something like you can go to a vocational school and become a tourist.
So as now we are talking about the language, learning the Japanese language. So to work in Japan, apart from the language, what other skills one has to acquire basically?
So I'll first tell you about the language. That 99% of the Japanese speak only one language, which is Japanese. And therefore, without language, you really cannot really do much with the country, about the country, and in any of their corporations. Unless you are like me, who have been going for business, you have some counterparts, and you have been able to manage the thing. But yeah, I also think that I could have managed it better if I knew the language. So language being one. I think beyond language, there is a lot of things that are very important. And that is the Japanese way of doing work. For us Indians, teamwork is not important. We are very selfish about us individually. If we are in profession, if we are in school and college, we don't want to share our homework or share our this.
Exactly.
Our mothers will not, or parents will not allow, because that one could exceed you, or we become better than you. So it gets an inherent thing inside us to have, as we grow up, to be individualism. Okay, that is something which Japanese do not follow at all. Okay, there's a huge amount of teamwork which foreigners think delays their decision making. Yes, it does delay their decision making, but it also helps in the system because everybody is aware of everything that is happening. So one is teamwork. Etiquettes and culture. Time. You cannot be in time for the meeting. You have to be 10 minutes before time for the meeting. Okay. And as we all know, the bullet train is something that you can actually tune your watches to. Okay. So in Japan. So time, ethics, sincerity, means there is a lot to do with the culture. How do you behave? Business entertainment, or how do you manage? Hierarchical. If the boss is angry, you don't just sort of react. He might fire you in front of 10 people. You just bow your head down and just take it lying to. You just don't start reacting.
Okay.
Okay, no arguments. Yes, you can later go and say that this is my suggestion, but not in hierarchy. So there are a lot of things, it may not be acceptable to everybody. So hierarchy still exists. Although the society is very equal. So that's what we have to offer.
Oh. So, sir, now we are talking about youth from our Northeast. Now we are talking about Japan. So from Northeast to Japan, it's quite a leap. It's like from momos to sushi. So for some people, and especially our aspirants and viewers, it might be a little overwhelming. From somebody from Northeast working all the way to Japan. So it might be a little overwhelming. So I'm just saying that it may arise in, there are some aspirants who may get this kind of confusion so can you please elaborate on that, or can you clear the doubt a bit?
Yeah, so if you look at, so for the benefit of aspirants, they have to all look within themselves. It's like, if you heard that story of a child going to a balloon maker and asking that, will this red balloon go up? Then will this blue balloon go up? And will the black balloon go up? And the maker said, it's not the color with which the balloon goes up. It's what's within you that will actually make you rise. So, my appeal through this whole forum to the youth would be that we should get over these inhibitions that can I make it. I think the youth of this region are ideally suited to Japan. Number one, assimilation into society is much easier because the youth of this region, or this region in general, is not based, it doesn't have the aggressive quality. So it's got timidness, it's got simplicity, it's got a way of life which is very, very similar to the Japanese in these traits. Food habits are common. Rice eating, there is nothing. Generally, there is no vegetarianism, and most meats are acceptable. So food habits will not be a difficulty. And above all, many of the people from this region have very similar facial features. That is one very, very strong aspect that works. Okay, so if you look at from that angle, they are an ideal fit. Yes, they have to all come out from their comfort zone. And as we say, under the banner of Youth for Japan, there are so many opportunities that they can go for. Hundreds and lakhs of graduates are coming out. What is the jobs that they are getting? What is the level of income are they earning? Okay. A reasonably good bilingual getting into Japan for a job is guaranteed to be able to have 50 lakhs as a saving in 5 years. Okay, there is no way that it can be less unless you really, go crazy and splurge it, or use business class to come in and out of home every 6 months. That's a different story. But otherwise, if you go abroad with an objective of earning money, saving money, living a good lifestyle, etc., yes, it's all possible. One should not get inhibited by it, but one should look at it, okay, yeah, why not? Let me look at this opportunity, whether it's for education, whether it's for career, whether it's for anything. Yes, you may have to start somewhere small. You can't be always looking at white collar. So a lot of our people who are now ready to go are all graduates and postgraduates, but they realize that it's worth going for a 1.5 lakh per month than sitting here with 20,000. Money is one factor, but also the quality of life and the environment. But yes, you'll have to a little bit bow your head down and sit in.
Yeah. So, sir, can you elaborate on JLPT, this particular examination, and what are the advantages of cracking this?
So, there has to be some form of certification by which you are recognized that how well you know the language. So JLPT, as the abbreviation goes, is Japanese Language Proficiency Test, conducted in collaboration by the Japanese government, Ministry of Education, and the Japan Foundation, which conducts the test on the first Sunday of July and the first Sunday of December. That is twice a year. It is the global standard for its certification in Japanese language, just as IELTS, etc., are for English. Certification, because you get certified JLPT, so any organization, educational institution recognizes it as a valid certification. However, JLPT is not the only exam. There are other exams which also help in certification, like Japanese Foundation tests. So a JLPT certification is your certificate.
Tickets to...
Yes, a ticket that you are qualified bilingual to whatever level.
So, sir, now that we are talking about youth from Northeast working in Japan or Japan-related companies, so, is it somewhat like brain draining? Do you think it might be?
No, I think it is empowerment.
Okay, that's a nice...
Yeah, it's actually getting empowered in life, where no amount of skilling, at least in this country, could give you this level of skills. Okay, to take the audience back, or to make them understand, we have to realize that Japan is a total DIY country. Do it yourself. Okay, 65 to 75% of high school students go to vocational schools, and only maybe around 30% go to universities. Why do they go to vocational schools? Because vocational schools give them immense amount of quality skills, which give them a job directly. The employment sort of percentage from vocational schools is over 95%, although it is only 75% at university, or 65% at university. I don't remember the figure exactly. So, and vocational schools is just 2 years, university stands from 4 years, and then people go for further education, etc., etc. So therefore, Japan being a DIY, where our youth go and work there, the skill set that they would have with them at the end of whatever period, if they decide to come back, bring it back here, is phenomenal. So that's why I term it as real empowerment.
Wow. That's a very nice term to use, actually. So, now that you have already been associated with people who are taking training or learning the language, can you share any success stories with our viewers? We would love to know.
Yeah, so as I said, we started only around September, October of 2019. That's when we put our first actually language batch together, from a small space in Ambari and Bangalore, Guwahati. And we said, okay, I think these people will learn the language first level, then they move to the second level. Some of them, may want to go to Japan, etc. But before we could really do things, COVID struck us in March of 2020. And therefore, everything went online. Okay. Yeah, we also started online because I'm a firm believer of technology, and there is a big, huge shortage. So, for the benefit of viewers, if you're looking at teaching as a profession, there's a huge shortage, and a bilingual teacher is in huge demand. Schools in the Northeast or schools all over India, colleges all over India are unable to start Japanese language because there is no teacher actually available. Okay, so that is one shortage that is actually here, right here. So therefore, when we started off, we lost 2 years, but however, we carried on with online classes. At the end of it, in March 22, when COVID disappeared to some extent and visas started opening in Japan, we started our first batch with about 16 students. 5 dropped out, then another 2 dropped out, finally with 9 ones who for direct job placements in Japan under the Japan government programs. As we speak today, about, I think, 6 students from our center joined Japanese language schools in Japan. They invested in themselves. And this they did in April of 22. And now in April of 24, they would be graduating out of those Japanese language schools for direct employment in Japan. So they have invested in themselves because now they are fully professional bilinguals to the highest level that is possible. Obviously, you have to pay for the Japanese language. 9 of our students, and this, I say it with pride, it's because it's not part of business. It was just facilitating, guiding, and actually motivating them to go to universities. Out of that, 1 went for his PhD, others went for post-graduations, and as we speak today, yesterday, 1 flew for her undergraduation with 100% scholarship from Nagoya University. All the others have got 95 to 100% scholarships. And the one who got PhD got the government of Japan's MEXT scholarship. And these are all students from here. The one who got PhD is a zoology student from Cotton University. So all that we did was actually guide, facilitate, help them prepare their projects in Japanese, get them translated, get them the professors, etc. So that's on the education front, what I call as small successes. On the front of jobs, yes, our people have not yet moved into Japan, but 5 girls are going to go by December, January to do building maintenance. When we call building maintenance, actually they're going to be cleaning Fukuoka airport on machines. Okay, and for the benefit of viewers, even if you're doing that job, they're going to earn 140,000 rupees per month, cutting down taxes and cutting down accommodation, etc., etc. We expect them to save around 70,000 rupees per month.
So, sir, can you please tell us how difficult it is to learn the language and how long does it take one to master the language, I mean the Japanese language?
Okay, so as you all know, that language can be learned in 2 different ways. One is that either you go into a university and do your undergraduate, BA, MA, PhD, etc. in language, right? So you have multiple universities also offering in India Japanese language. Delhi University School of East Asian Studies offers a BA or a diploma in Japanese language. JNU does offer the BA and MA programs and PhD programs, etc. So there are multiple other universities. However, when you're looking at certification, which we are discussing, and that's why JLPT came up, Japanese language has basically 5 levels. N5 being the lowest, N1 being the highest. To give you an idea, a Japanese national coming out of a Japanese school, class 12, is at N1 level. And N5 is somebody who is in class 4, 5, or plus around that time. So we start at that level when we are getting certified. Normally, N5, N4, N3 approximately take about 200 hours. The Japanese government standard is minimum 150 hours, but we offer it for about 200 hours because, everybody doesn't have the same pace and capability, etc. So 200 hours is a safe bet. Now, the 200 hours can be divided over the period of time, depending on how many days per month, how many hours per day, etc. you're learning. But generally, if we just look at the ballpark where students who are doing other courses in colleges and universities, working professionals, etc., would like to learn. The weekends are best suited, so we run Saturday, Sunday, 3 hours, and it takes about approximately 5 to 6 months before they can complete. So one semester, if you start in January, they will be ready for the JLPD exam in July. The next, you start in July, they'll be ready for the JLPD exam in December. So I always say 1.5 years, you are 3 levels certified. You can then join a teacher training program, then you can join business Japanese, you can do it. And then you can carry on if you still want to do N2, N1. That's it. So the time frame is based. However, when we are doing direct to job, which is fully residential, then we have 6 hours of class every day. And in 6 months, we do 2 levels and prepare them for the Japanese government. So it all depends on the schedule that is set in.
So, sir, like if one learns the language, do they have to migrate to Japan only, or like India too has opportunities? They have.
Oh, yes. So, migration to Japan is obviously if you're looking for a better quality of life, living in a first world country, in some categories, higher salaries, especially blue collar work. Okay. But if you're looking at the white collar working and your own entrepreneur enterprises, India today offers immense opportunities to a good quality bilingual. When I say good quality, I mean that language proficiency has to be there. You just can't take out that, okay, I'm JLPD certified, but you can't speak or you can't communicate. It won't work. So if we look at the Indian opportunity, as we all know, that Japan today is the 5th largest investor in this country. Let's leave out Mauritius and Singapore because those are roots where people send money. So actually, it's about the 2nd or 3rd largest investor in this country. Number one. Number two, the major projects are being done by Japanese. The whole automobile industry is Japanese, from Suzuki to Nissan to any other name of the car that you can take. The Japanese retail industry is growing. If you have heard of Uniqlo, Uniqlo is a retail brand of menswear, women's wear, children's wear, etc., which has really beat Zara and H&M and everybody to their air. So there's a huge, growth in Japanese industry, both big, small, etc., where they require bilinguals. Number one. Number two, large companies are using consulting organizations to give them consultancy. So if you look at Ernst & Young, if you look at PwC, if you look at Capgemini, if you look at Accenture, any of them all have Japan desks. Huge opportunity. And the base skills, in these companies are very big. Teachers, big shortage. After in three levels, we can help you to become, go through a teacher training program with the Japanese government. You could be sent on a scholarship to Japan to undergo the teacher training program, etc. And you could become a good bilingual teacher. Could be attached to a school, college, and have a fixed income. Could be a freelancer and have a larger income, etc. Interpretation and translation, it takes time to become an interpreter and translator because the amount of vocabulary and the amount of, sentence-making ability, instant and sentence-making ability has to be high, but again, huge scope. So on an average, so there are interpreters whom I know who charge 40,000 rupees an hour. So there are those varieties, but on a basic level, between 15 to 20,000 rupees an hour is something, a day is something that, I mentioned hour, it should be a day, is there. Translation ranges from 5 rupees to 15 rupees a word. So multiple scopes. I mean, you can sit at home and make your life as a good bilingual. And now with this project of the high-speed railway, which is being built between Mumbai and Ahmedabad, obviously project management becomes huge. So bridging the gap between engineers in Japan and engineers in India or project. So a lot of opportunities in India, but at a different level. Your bilingual capacities have to be much higher.
So, sir, now that we are talking about intertechnology, so I'm sure that our viewers as well as our aspirants would love to know about the salary package or how, and at the entry level, how much can youth earn basically after they have mastered the language basically? So,
So, we have to understand another aspect of Japanese culture. The disparity in society is very low or near to nil.
Oh.
Okay, so from a personal experience, I've experienced of sitting on a train, local train, and would call it, in India, and the person sitting next to me was reading an English book, and I realized that why is he reading an English book? And he was a president in Sony.
Oh.
Okay, so he had the capacity or the capability of taking out probably his, BMW, etc., etc. But they all use public transport.
That's interesting.
So the equality is very high. Therefore, a fresher salary, that is the first time you are taking a job in Japan. Now, whether you are a carpenter or whether you are an IT engineer, it doesn't matter. This is a fresher salary, which is in Japanese yen terms, with bonus, etc., is approximately 300,000 yen, which turns out to be 1,80,000 in Indian rupees as per current exchange rates. Out of that, on an outer limit, you would spend, when I say 300,000 yen, you would spend about 100 to 150,000, 20,000 yen on your expenses of housing, food, etc. So you still have a saving of, if not 150,000 yen, that is 50,000. Okay, that is 90,000 rupees as saving. Okay, I still discounted that you might be splurging and spending because you've seen the first word. So 50,000 rupees a month saving is absolutely guaranteed. So what I said is, it's the equality. Yes, there is difference, little bit plus minus, somebody may get a little less bonus, somebody will get more bonus. The speed at which you will get increments or speed at which you growth will happen. But as a fresher salary, and if you're a good IT engineer and you go up, etc., just millions. So in Indian rupees, if you look at the normal salary point of view, on a safe bet, 1,50,000.
That's quite clear. So basically, to survive in Japan, how much one does need monthly on a monthly basis? A rough calculation, maybe.
So as I said, rough calculation would be about, in Japanese yen, 100,000 yen, which is about 60,000. That's why I said that if you earn 1,50,000 and you say you spend 60,000, you still have 90,000.
Right. My next question is a little bit out of the context. Nowadays, we see that among the youth, there's a craze of anime and manga comics, which has been originated from Japan only. So if you see social media everywhere, I mean, this craze is everywhere. So do you think, there's any window of opportunity for people who are into anime or manga in any way? It's a little bit out of the context yet.
Yeah, so, and Japanese anime characters have sort of engulfed children of all ages and the youth, etc. Most of the youth in India have not converted their love for anime, which is a hobby, into profession. But there's a huge shortage of anime makers. There's a huge shortage of anime directors. And there is vocational schools which actually teach you anime. Okay, so it's not just what we will say animation in its pure form. Okay, so there is a huge opportunity, but I think if it's always kept as a hobby, then it's a different thought. If it's turned into profession, it can be different. So a lot of designers who have a design sense, etc., should look at.
So the work life everywhere is different. So how different is it, like working in Japan? How different is it from working in the Northeast or maybe India? What is the difference? Because, I have heard that in Japan, they have breaks for napping also. Somewhere I have heard about. I don't know if it's true. You'll be the best person to tell me that, actually.
So one thing we have to understand, that the pure Japanese is changing in the current generation are workaholics. Okay. And if we look back and stem back, the country was sort of devastated in World War II with Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yes.
Okay. That generation, which I would say is a little senior to my generation, had fire in the belly that how could America do this to us? And they built Japan overnight to become the second best or the second largest economy of the world in just one decade. Okay, we've got 70 years of independence. So there's a lot of difference in the way they work. Work for them is, is like their mantra. They can't live without working. So one generation, definitely, I would say their work-life balance is all, disturbed. You have to be on your toes if you're working with Japanese. Okay, so that is one thing, because you have to adjust to them up to a certain level. When you come to India, our value of time is all distorted, our value of commitments are distorted, etc. All those things, that is there. When you come to the Northeast, and I would really appeal again that we have to get out of our laid back thing, and we have to be very, very driven if we have to work in Japan, within Japanese companies, or with Japanese anyway. There's a big, big cultural difference. Sense of commitment and sense of timing has to be one thing which is from a culture apart from other aspects.
So, sir, if someone is aspiring to work in Japan, so apart from your Japan Center of Excellence, what are the other options through which one can get to work there or learn the language, basically?
Yeah, so learning the language, you can learn it in India in multiple ways. You can learn the language online if you're really, really driven. We have the internet as a very big enabler today, and multiple platforms. I know of many students who have done it themselves to a certain extent. So that is one. Then, if you have the wherewithal, go to Japan and join a Japanese language school, because as everybody will agree that the language is best learned when it is in the place that it is spoken. Okay, because here you'll be learning the language for 1 hour and then you are back home and you are in your vernacular or English or whatever it may. But when you're in Japan, there is no choice. So you will be obviously learning it every day. Join a Japanese language school and become as good as a Japanese in 2.5 years of time. And one thing I just want to mention here, that while you are in Japan, even as a student, whether in a university, Japanese language school, etc., or a vocation school, etc., legally you are allowed to work 28 hours legally. Okay, so that amount. So if you look at a salary of approximately 900 yen, which is about 540 rupees per hour, you are able to pay for your living costs while you are as a student, or as if you go as a worker there. So this is the other way that you learn the language and you enter Japan and you can start. And for one thing, it's guaranteed that those who come back from Japanese language schools with Japanese language skills and have also done the 28 hours of work per week are directly absorbed into any Japanese corporations here in India, because they understand the Japanese way of working already, because they've already worked there and they've learned the language. But very few come back, so that's
So, sir, we have almost reached the end of the session. So, before wrapping up, any last words to our viewers or aspirants? Any advice you want to give them?
Yeah, so I think the youth of today have a great opportunity in what I term as Opportunity Japan. As we had just discussed, it's not only migrating to Japan, but it's also working here, but using your knowledge of Japanese language and culture as your main ingredient to build your life. So I would say, get out of your comfort zone, think of greener pastures and better life, both financially as well as physically, to be in a first world country, and learn the language. The language is the biggest.
So, would you like to say anything about our initiative, Advancing Northeast, initiative about career talks? Anything you'd like to?
Yeah, I think it's a great initiative. I've been following it from the day it was sort of set up, and I always wanted that foreign languages are also included into it. I think with this initiative, at least on this platform, there could be e-learning of the language, if not physical learning. And through this platform, at least, some amount of youth could learn the language, transit into working, transit into education, and move forward. So it's actually would be advancing Northeast in its true words.
Thank you so. We have reached the end of today's session. It was truly a very impactful and insightful session. There were many things that even I didn't know. So I'm sure that our viewers, especially the aspirants, they have got to learn many new things from today's session. And obviously, thank you so much, sir, that you spared some time of your busy schedule and you have joined us today.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, sir. Please keep watching Advancing Northeast. Thank you.